I will bring it back to Van De Beek, and a lot of fans have been talking about Van De Beek, but you've got a player now. You didn't let him go to Everton. I believe, there was discussions he's going to go there. You've kept him now. So now use him. Find a way to use him. There's no point him sitting on the bench and then you're going to go and lose him for less in the summer. Like it just doesn't make sense. You've got a player in there who can offer something. You've got to find a way to get the most out of him. So that's where I would be looking. I'd be looking and thinking, by the way, Van de Beek's not the savior. He's not going to go and change everything for Manchester United, but give the lad a chance. Let's see what he can do. Change it up a bit. I think that's a good place to start, really, for me.
Yeah, look, I'm not interested in market value, so I don't care if Van de Beek's value goes up or down. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in Man United winning football matches, finding the correct path to get this team winning games. So would I play Dalot in the first Champions League game? No, because I want to win that game. I'm not testing a Champions League match on a player who we're not sure about. So I think Dalot will get game time. I'd rather that he kind of got 15 minutes in Premier League matches and built up and find a way into it, because we do know that defensively he has issues. But of course, the big issue there is, as we've said for the whole of this program, is Wan-Bissaka. So I do think that it's trying to find a way now to get Van de Beek into this team. If Van de Beek has spent all of this time getting fit, getting more physically stronger, and being a kind of more of a ball progressor, which is what he's talked about, then give him a chance in the double pivot while people are still injured. So while McTominay is coming back, looking at this next game coming up, if you want to keep Matic in there as a sitting defensive midfielder, fine. But I think in this Newcastle game, you could have said, right, Paul Pogba, you're getting assists every game. Go and play where you've been so good at the top of the pitch. I'll play Jadon on the right-hand side. And do you know what? For this game, Mason, you're going to go and sit on the bench and maybe come on after an hour or something. You can do that. There are not players who are undroppable in this team. It's a team effort at the end of the day anyway. So when you look at kind of Van de Beek, we've got to now start seeing what he can do in that pocket, because I would have expected him to do better than both Pogba did and also Matic. That's not saying he's better than Paul Pogba. Of course not. But it's the function. It's the chemistry. It's moving the ball on. So I might want to see that in the next few games and seeing how you open that up. What I probably think United will end up doing is they'll stick to what they know. And then when McTominay comes in, we'll hammer McTominay until he breaks his leg and it falls off or something again, like we've done with Rashford. So that is an issue for me, because I kind of think, so if you haven't really got options, maybe what Ole should be thinking now is going, right, I'm going to play 3-5-2 this week. Let's do something different. I don't need, when you play Newcastle and they've got one attacker and they're playing counter-attacking, they're so deep, let's play a 3 at the back. Now, they do kind of do that when the midfielder drops in, but let's play a proper 3-5-2 with wide players pushed high up the top end of the pitch and then having 2 strikers around the box. And then you could play, say, Ronaldo and Mason together. I'd like to see some variation, Haider. This is what I want to see from the club. I want to see that United have a plan B when plan A doesn't need to be used.
Rob, this is a point as well that I did want to say, is that we have a squad where you can change things around, but I think it's
we should.
Ole hasn't done that. We've seen a lot that he is very loyal to certain players, and he will. It's almost, what's the phrase? The insanity of doing things again, expecting a different result. We've got options now. There's quality in the squad to do different things. And that's what he needs to be doing.
I don't believe it's loyalty. I said this to you, I think, last season. I think it's just choice. It's just like he looks at it and he goes, how am I going to win this next match? That's all he cares about. That's all I care about. How do you win the game? What's the best formation, best function to win the game? But also helping maybe to start the rotation a little bit more, helping players get a little bit of rest when they need it. So like Wan-Bissaka, as we just said there, he might not be able to come straight out, but you could maybe start by substituting him now and then and give him a little bit more of a break and, giving him a few minutes off. But we don't do these things, do we? So you have to ask Ole why that is. But I think United now this season, even if we don't win the title or we don't win a trophy, if we get to the end of the season and say United played well and they've now got 3 systems that they can go into and play against teams rather than one system, because that's all we've got. We've only got one system. And we play that every week against everyone. So it's like we can never really change it. Yet we've got this world-class squad of many, many players. And I don't know if we're utilising these players because they all look a little bit inhibited within their own skins. And I don't want to say we've got to play 40-for-1. So Paul Pogba, you've got 7 assists this year now. Please go and play in front of Harry Maguire. I don't want that. I don't want to see it because it's not even working. If it was working, I would sit here, and kind of, with my thumb in my mouth and say, well, at least it's working. I can't say anything about it. Played brilliantly, but it's not working. So you have to try other things as the season unfolds.
There's a good comment here, Rob, from the Football Scholar saying, I think Scott with Paul in the pivot would work against teams where we have 70+ possession. Matic and Pogba don't have the mobility between them. I want to focus on the mobility point because I think that's what you need in this system. So, I think one of the things that myself included, obviously, what we say about Fred is that while they give you the mobility, they don't perhaps give you the ball progression, and we know that. But I think the first thing that this system needs for me is that mobility. They need to be able to do the work, need to be functional first. We know that need to be better going forward, but that's what you're lacking when you take them both out. Now, I think I'm quite shocked, like a lot of other people, at how much we really are missing someone like McTominay who does give you that energy in midfield. And I think that's what Van De Beek has to do, doesn't he? He has to show Ollie that he can do that side. One of the things I sort of picked up on last season, which Van De Beek was doing, is that you remember we mentioned sort of that one goes and one stays. I think one of the biggest issues with Van De Beek last season was that he wasn't understanding. He just went, didn't he? He just vacated and left so much space.
Yeah.
So I think if he can sort that out, I think he can play in that role, and I think he will offer you more ball progression. He's not a natural ball progressor, I don't think. But, we have got different options here, Rob. For example, where does Jesse Lingard fit into this, by the way? I mean, obviously, I think he's still a bench player, but where does he fit? What can he offer? Because I thought he was very sharp yesterday when he did come on.
Well, he fits on the bench. That's it. You don't start. If everyone's fit, Jesse Lingard doesn't play. So, I like having Jesse in my squad. Like yesterday, you saw he came on 20 minutes, great goal. He can do the job. We know that. We saw what he did at West Ham. We saw it played for England the other day, shockingly, gets an international setup, scores 2 goals. So, Jesse Lingard is not a bad player. So, I don't think he's an issue. Just going back to the question there about Van Der Beek and Scott McTominay and Pogba, I'll just reiterate what I just said. I don't want Paul Pogba in a double pivot with anyone. I don't want Paul Pogba in a double pivot with Kante. I don't want to see it. I want to see Paul Pogba play at the top end of the pitch because that's what he's good at. Now, we're looking at Van Der Beek. Van Der Beek has to show a progress if he plays in the double pivot in terms of what we saw last year. So he hasn't got a kind of very high standard to go from. It's quite a pretty low bar. And if we saw him move around a little bit more and maybe played a little bit more progressive football from that area, I think we'd all be delighted. But you know what? You can put roller skates on his ankles and he will still be less mobile than Fred, and he will still be less mobile than McTominay. So this is the issue. It's not about crowbarring footballers into your team. It's about having the right footballers in the right positions in your team. So as it stands today, unless you go and buy a midfielder that can do it, so for instance, next summer, you might go and get Basuma. Next summer, you might go and get Tielemans. You might go and get Neves. There are players out there you can get, but they're at a premium. And when Man United come in, of course, it's an extra 20 million quid. So that complicates deals. That's why United haven't executed any of these deals. But as it stands today, United are trying to win the championship with a double pivot of Scott McTominay and Fred. And we need them to be fit. And there's no way of crowbarring players in when they are fit. Now they're injured. Now they've kind of been out of the team with Scotty. Yeah, this is your chance to say to Donny, we're going to give you 3 games in there. Yeah. And you're going to play in there. One game you might play with Matic. One game you might play with Fred. And we're going to find a way to see if we can play you in this team without compromising the function of conceding goals, because that's the issue. So I don't want Donny Van De Beek to get the ball off the back 2, off the centre backs, and be playing amazing balls through the channels and us going, oh my God, he's a world-class player. Everyone knows what he already is. He's a good player, but it's finding his function within the team. And he's going to be a bench player like Lingard, but it's about being able to use them at the right times. And I think that this is where the key comes this season, about finding systems, because if you play 3-5-2, you would absolutely be able to play Donny Van De Beek in central midfield easily, easy, because he'd have that function to be able to get forward and play behind the front.
Yeah, he has the protection of the 3.
He's got the protection, because then you would say to Fred and McTominay, protect him, so it's almost like a 4-3-3 shape. And we know that United have flitted between those two. They didn't go yesterday 4-3-3 because of the low block, so they kind of kept it 4-2-3-1. But we've seen in the opening games that they have switched 2 or 3 times within games to 4-3-3, trying to find that plan B, as I'm talking about. But I don't know, like it's there's lots of question marks over player heads. It almost reminds me of the Fellaini questions, like when Fellaini was at the football club. Fellaini's best position at Everton, everyone knew, was kind of to the left of a striker. That's what he did really well. He would go back to goal, turn in. He scored tons of goals that way. And what did he do when he came to Man United? They played him as number 6. Played him number 6 his whole career, and everyone went, oh, he's a lump. Of course, he's a lump.
He got rinsed as well.
And that's not his fault. So that was the thing is Mourinho loved it. Mourinho loved him there, and that's fine, and that's the manager's choice. But it's a little bit like McTominay, who by trade is an attacking midfielder. People don't even know this. When he was a kid, he's an attacking midfielder and a striker. That's what he used to do. He used to bang in goals for fun, and he can do that function, which is why he scored 8 goals last year from the double pivot. So if I'm Ole, I'm looking at him and I'm kind of going, people might not like him, but I do. So I'm going to play him, and I might win more games if I don't play him. So I think that's the balancing point.